Ask the meeting to come to order. It is April 26th, and this is the General Services Public Works Committee. And welcome. Our first up, Chief of Police, request to purchase a cool car.
Thank you for having me. This is part of our ongoing effort to make sure we have an adequate fleet for our patrol folks. We, as I reported previously, we have a number of cars that have extremely high miles. The way this came about was in our budget preparations for next year's budget, we are looking at the number of vehicles we would need. And I asked the question, is there anything that we might be able to get out of this year's budget with vacancy savings, because we have a number of openings. Today I have 3 as of right now, and it looks like we might have a 4th coming here pretty quick. And so anyway, we have some budget savings that we're hoping to take advantage of. So what I'm proposing today is to use those budget savings to purchase a vehicle that currently sits at a local lot. Apparently one of the other local law enforcement agencies ordered this vehicle back when and then did not pick it up, so it's a police rated vehicle that's sitting at one of our local dealers.
Wow. Any questions for the chief? Dan?
No.
Keek?
It's pretty straightforward.
Deal's a deal. Look for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of one patrol vehicle and related equipment, but I'd also like to place it on the agenda since it's not budgeted.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Been moved and second. Any other discussion? Questions? All those in favor say yes.
Aye.
Yes, but aye.
Aye. And Dan would like it on the calendar.
Thank you.
We're good. Thanks, Chief. Next up, a bid for approval of a contract for La Riviera on Atlas Road Transmission Main Project. Terry Pickle, Water Department. Welcome, Terry.
Good afternoon, committee members. Thank you for allowing me to come before you today. So I'm bringing forward approval of a bid, or award of a bid, and approval of a contract with La Riviera Inc. for our second phase of our transmission main project. This will be from Atlas Well down to underneath I-90 to where we'll eventually proceed along the Centennial Trail east to Riverstone. But this is just for the Atlas Road portion of it. This is about 4,600 lineal feet. This is part of our planned project. We were going to go 24-inch, but we were looking at drilling another well down along between Orchards and Atlas. That well was a bust, so there won't be able to put that in, so reduce this down to an 18-inch.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because we won't need the flow capacity.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So if we're only using one well, we won't have any reason for it. So,
Okay.
so we decided to reduce down to 18-inch to go all the way down through there and all the way across Centennial Trail.
Is that like an engineering thing with pressure in the
Yes.
pipe and all that?
Yeah,
Okay.
pressure and flow conditions, yes.
Right.
So we had 7 pre-approved bidders. We ended up having 5 bids for the project. The other 2 were just too busy, didn't even want to bid on it. Our lowest responsive bid was La Riviera Inc. Our engineering estimate on that was $1,030,000 for ductile iron pipe. We can't get PVC right now. It's out till at least August or September before you could even get PVC. The resin was manufactured in Texas. So with the bad winter and all the infrastructure devastation down in Texas, it's really put things off a long ways. So we're ending up putting in ductile iron, which is readily available. Costs a little more, about another $100,000 for the project, but we can have it in. We're planning to do this project this summer after school closes so that we won't inhibit bus route traffic. We'll inhibit a little bit of traffic on the Atlas Road itself, but we can close it down in sections and then detour traffic through the neighborhoods until we get down to Masters, and we'll have to work with traffic on that portion of it. We'll try to keep it open as much as possible. Going under the freeway is going to be one solid chunk of steel pipe for a carrier. So that's going to be a little bit more of a problem, but they've assured us that they can get it done. So we've had the engineer look at La Riviera's prices, talk to them. They feel comfortable with what they've got. So they're ready to move forward with installation, starting probably in late June, early July. So we'd like to request the council awards the lowest responsive bid to La Riviera Inc. and approve or authorize a service or construction contract with them.
Thanks, Terry. Any questions? Dan?
Thank you, Woody. So iron, it adds more to the cost, but also doesn't iron, I mean, so I got iron pipes in my house because it's old, and they flake.
These ones will not because they're concrete lined.
So it's iron lined with concrete.
Yes. That's what ductile iron pipe is designed for this, so it does not corrode, so it has a concrete lining in it.
Okay, well, let's hope that doesn't flake off.
It won't.
I had the misfortune of driving up Atlas today. It's a terrible road. Chris, are we doing that? Are we redoing that? Yes, no? Yes. Okay, so we are. So you're going to coordinate so that we're not going to be tearing up the street after it's repaved?
Well, what we're looking at, because it's going to maybe a few years before that gets done,
Okay.
we're going to end up taking probably about half that road and replacing it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so,
And that's part of this bid too?
yes.
This is,
Free road. Free
I
half.
think it's free. This is the first time I've heard in one of your staff reports that the general zone needs, because normally it was the northern zone, whatever that's called. That was the weak
The upper
one.
zone, yes.
So can I see the study that shows
That
that
was
this?
part of the comprehensive plan back in 2012. That was approved
Still.
by council, yes. It's still part of that same study.
Can we bring this back to council? Can you present that and show the data of how that's?
Yep.
Because I know there's a lot of moving pieces, and I can't keep them all in my brain. But I know was a couple of weirdos with the general zone that you were trying to solve.
Right.
And I guess this is kind of the solution, because you were looking for a tank
So
somewhere.
we needed about another 4,000 GPM in the general zone. Trying to find a location for an applicable well site that big.
Right.
Because it can produce that well in that area, because it's all south of Appleway.
Right.
Is very difficult. We've tried and it just can't seem to do it. So Welch Corman came up with the idea of taking Atlas well, which can produce over 4,000 GPM, with this transmission main set up, because we were doing the new Hutter well, which is to replace it, would be able to supply that 4,000 plus GPM to the general zone.
Okay.
That should, depending on what densities we see increases in the general zone, that should get us to the point where we can reach build out in that zone.
See, that's all good data.
Yes.
And I think that I appreciate that. So you come back to council and give us all that stuff in addition to this, because otherwise I don't have an issue. Thank you,
Right.
Woody.
Okay. Kiki?
I just had two things. Did you say the engineer's estimate was 1.3 million?
Was 1,030,000,
Oh, 1,030,000.
yes.
That's not as far off.
Yeah.
And then my question, when you're doing ductile iron, does the connection to the service fees or process change dramatically from
No.
using,
No,
it's
it's
pretty much
still,
the same tap?
there'll only be one service on this main. That was kind of a fluke. It shouldn't have actually been on that main in the first place, but that's the way it was installed many, many years ago. And so there'll only be one service on it, but it's the same style of setup.
Okay.
So there's like a residential service or
Yes,
something on?
it's a residential
Oh my God,
service.
what's their
Typically,
pressure?
you don't see that on the transmission main, so.
They must have like 200 PSI in their house.
No,
Okay.
it's running about 70 PSI.
Okay, wow.
I just love these pipes and waters and pumps and stuff. I love it. All right, look for a motion.
So I would move to accept the bid and approve the award of a contract to La Riviere, Inc. for the Atlas Road Transmission Main Project in the amount of $831,287, and again, put that on the agenda so that we can, because it's not routine, that.
Kiki, you look for a second?
Second.
Good.
Yep. Dan, you wanted it on the agenda because,
This is
I
my
just
beef with the
didn't hear what you
consent
said.
calendar. The consent calendar should be, and it says right on the agenda, it says routine items. $800,000 purchase
oh,
is not
routine.
routine.
I just didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm
All
good.
those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Put that on the council
Agenda.
agenda. Thank you. Next up, Kyle Marine from the Water Department, talking about a Radiohead. Is that the band Radiohead? No.
Not quite, no, sir. Good afternoon, council. Got a couple of quick pictures for you here, but I am here this afternoon to request the acceptance of a bid with Orion, with Badger Meters for the Orion ME radio read heads. So last year, we got approved to purchase and build our new meter test bench, which we have been utilizing all winter long. During that process, we've been setting aside and rebuilding water meters to put back in the system. Most of the water meters that we're rebuilding currently are 3/4 and 2-inch meters. Now, in that process, we have components for most of the components for the internal parts. One of the components that we need to purchase this year that is, will cover all sizes of meters because we can program them, is the heads. That is one of the Orion ME radio read heads. So that is universal to all of our meters. I want to say 90% of our meters currently. Any meters that don't use the ME head now, we're slowly phasing out of the system. Those are the census meters, but those are in the process to remove. So each year we go through and replace about 2,000 meters within the city. We've stockpiled some meters. We're rebuilding those meters in-house, and at the point now we need to mass purchase these ME radio heads to replace the ones that we have on now, so they'll last another 10 years. This is part of the process for the replacement of the meters throughout the city and the rebuilding of the meters with the meter test bench. So in this process, we could replace those heads, program those to the size of meters that we need to rebuild, and put them back in the system. So at this point, I am requesting the approval to purchase the ME heads for $307,800 from Badger Meter. Any questions?
So how many heads do we get for 300,000?
I believe it's 1,800.
Jeez. Kiki, any questions?
I'm here.
Dan?
No, just procedural question. So
Yes, sir.
I'm a homeowner. You're going to be replacing my meter head. How does that work as far as what I see?
You betcha. So actually, we have the city broken up into different sections, and we try to do a section every 10 years. So it's broken out into a 10-year period. So if it's in your section, we'll go through, it'll be cataloged that it needs to be replaced, it's 10 years old. We'll pull your meter, put a brand new rebuilt meter or brand new meter in its place.
You notify me, right? You say, hey,
Yeah,
we're going to be by.
so we tag all the houses before we go out, usually a week or two. It just depends. Sometimes it takes a little longer for areas if we have difficulty or the weather. It could slow us down some. But we usually tag within about 2 weeks to 4 weeks ahead of time, letting you know that we're going to be in the area. And then we'll also tag the day that we do it. So when they swap it out, they'll leave a tag on the door saying, hey, we replace your meter, run your faucets for a little bit. You may receive some error in your system. If you have any problems, give us a call.
Okay,
So then we take that old meter back to shop. It goes into a box and goes into storage until usually the slower season, which is winter time. And then we'll take that meter, put it on the test bench, replace all necessary parts, including the heads if it needs to be replaced, and then it goes back into distribution for next year.
Sounds like a good program.
Very good program.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Any new questions? Look for a motion, please.
I make a motion to accept the bid and approve the award of contract to Badger Meter for the purchase of Orion ME radio read heads in the amount of $307,800.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Put it on the consent, please. Item 4, Chris Bosley from Streets and Engineering Department.
All
Talk
right,
to us,
thank you
Chris.
for having me before you today.
It's good to have you had.
So today I decided to put both of these agreements into one presentation because they both kind of work together and it'll help explain the picture here. So this is for our lacrosse project that we are going to construction on this summer, which is here at the intersection of Northwest Boulevard. And then it's going to curve up here and connect at this point up here to Lakewood Drive and the Union Drive. So looking closer at this, these are the design plans for it. And this parcel that you see right here is owned by Active West Developers. And so they want to develop that parcel, and we want them to help us pay for this project as well. When we brought this project to Ignite, we told them that we would try to work with the neighboring developers to try to get some capital out of them for the project as well. So what they're going to need is water, sewer, and a lot of fill dirt. They actually need, I think it's about 25,000 cubic yards of dirt. We only have about 5,500 cubic yards of dirt, But this is an exhibit from our agreement, minus the blue arrow that I added there, just to show you. We're going to be taking excavation dirt from this area and moving it over here and compacting it for them so that they can start their development there, because they can't use just dumped loose soil there. So in the agreement, they are paying us for the dirt, and then they're paying us what essentially would be a royalty fee on top of that, so that it makes it worth it for us to sell them the dirt and not use it somewhere else on one of our own projects. It's still a deal for them. They want the dirt, and it's a deal for us because it helps us pay for the project. So another part of this, though, is that their sewer line that they would be installing, which is here, we would be putting that in for them also, because it's going to have to go in with the project, but sewering the existing lots that are on Lacrosse. So this sewer needs to get down to our Riverside Interceptor, which is right here. Well, it crosses the Bureau of Land Management property that we had done the BLM Corridor Four Corners study on, or the master plan for that. So we have an agreement that we're trying to put together with the BLM to allow this sewer line to cross underground to the interceptor, and also at the same time this agreement with Active West to pay for the water, sewer, and fill dirt that they need for their projects. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody with all that, but.
I have a question, just while you were there. The interceptor is down below, closer to the river, and how far does it go up?
In this direction, it goes I'm not sure the limits of it, but it's over by the city limits.
Okay.
I think
So that's
Mill
the
River
easiest-
comes into that.
That's the easiest way to get the sewer line down there?
Correct. It is definitely the shortest path to get it there.
Okay.
Isn't that the one that goes all the way through Lance Douglas's property that we're trying to negotiate?
Correct.
It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
No one knows. Okay, well, sounds good.
Well, I could add to that. So the interceptor that we're speaking of goes to the trail. And the one that we're speaking about in Lance Douglas's is gonna flow west to Mill River, and then it's pumped from a lift station up Celtice, and then gravity flows at about Coeur d'Alene Honda down to this interceptor.
Okay, so it is connected, but not
It is.
directly. Okay.
Correct.
Crazy.
So with that, I have two requests. One is to approve the agreement with Active West for the construction of sewer pipe and fill material, and also an agreement with the Bureau of Land Management for construction of a sewer pipe across their property. I should add that the agreement with Active West may see some more revisions before City Council, but we won't bring it to City Council until that has been negotiated fully. Some new surprises came up last week, so we're just trying to work through those. But time is of the essence on this because we want them in the agreement so that we can move forward with the construction, which will be going to advertise starting this week.
So this is like two different agreements. The first one we're working
Correct.
on is Active West, then we come to Bureau of Land.
Correct, yes.
Questions, Dan?
So when you're coming back, will that
Yes.
be with the amounts? And so we'll be able
Yes.
to see, okay, good.
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just wanted to know, because there were no dollar amount in here, so.
Right.
Kiki?
So the dollar amounts are gonna come from Active West for their portion of the construction, and then will there be dollar amounts for the city's portion of the construction in that same section?
Well, we won't have bids in yet
Okay.
for the Lacrosse project before the next meeting. We will by the following one. Well, actually, June 1st, I think, is when we hope to award it. That date is slipping a little bit too, but we're still committed to get this project done this year. But there's just a lot of moving pieces with a lot of different entities here, so we're just trying to make sure we get it all in writing as we move along so that nothing falls off.
I'm just wondering how I get all the moving parts, but
Mm-hmm.
how are you balancing that Active West is gonna be paying their fair share if you don't know the costs yet?
That is in the agreement. That is to be modified based on the actual bid prices. There are estimates in there based on Welchcomer's estimates, but when we get the bid prices, that will be their final amount that they'd be paying.
So then they're using the fill material that's on the site, 5,500 cubic
Correct.
yards or something like that. Then where's the rest of the fill material for their, or do you know where the rest of their?
I don't know
project is?
where they'll get the rest of theirs at this point.
I guess I'm just hearkening back to our agreement with the triangle, in that we were going to be able to possibly prosper off of that by selling fill material. So it just seems like this would be a natural piece of the conversation, but I'll assume you guys have gone down that road.
It could certainly happen. We're just concerned about getting our portion of Lacrosse taken care of at this point with this agreement. And they could certainly come to the city and look for some more fill material as they move forward.
Okay,
You're good?
I'm good.
Those were good. A lot of moving parts.
A lot.
Do we have friends in BLM?
Yes,
Okay.
they seem to be agreeing with what we're doing so far. We touch base with them frequently.
So look for a motion for Active West.
So I'll make the motion to approve an agreement with Active West for the construction of a sewer pipe and purchase of fill material.
Second.
Moving second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You consent that, it'll probably come back, you think? Is that what
What's that?
you're saying? Does that go to consent, or you're gonna bring it back?
I think I might be bringing that one back.
Okay. So,
Sounds like more than once.
Right.
Yeah, with money.
Okay. moving on.
And then also just to make a second motion here, which is to approve the right-of-way agreement with the Bureau of Land Management for construction of a sewer pipe.
Second.
Been moving second for the Bureau of Land Management Good Deal Fund. All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Consent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, you're still up,
I'm
dude.
still up, yep.
Still
I got
rocking.
one more for you
All
today.
This is interesting.
Yes, this one is pretty interesting here. So, the project that we had previously for the Celtice Sidewalk project, we had gone out to bid twice on that project, and each time the bids increased over the previous, or over the estimate on what was previously bid. We were not able to construct that project, and we had to give the money back to ITD for that project. Luckily, some of the pieces have been falling into place on getting this shared use path or sidewalk put into place anyway. But one that a park would, well, it's actually, they're under the name of Glacier Northwest Boulevard Celtice LLC for this property. They are interested in helping us with this because they were interested in helping us originally with the slip lane. So if you look at this graphic here and see that Ironwood's over here, here's Northwest Boulevard coming up to I-90, and here's Celtice Way. Well, if you're going southbound on Northwest Boulevard, you're going to take this slip lane where you have to essentially try to merge into traffic, looking over your shoulder, behind you. It's not the safest situation to have there. So we had a plan to realign this slip lane closer to perpendicular with Northwest Boulevard so that you could just look to your left and see cars coming. So this was the original plan for that, and here's that slip lane that comes through here. And then here is the proposed new slip lane that comes at more of a sharp angle to Northwest Boulevard. We weren't able to put it in as just a regular right turn lane because ITD still had control over this intersection and they didn't like what it may do to capacity there. And they wanted to keep that, some of that queuing length there. So they agreed to this plan, so this is what we were moving forward with on that project. Well, when it didn't materialize for us, this Glacier Northwest Boulevard Celtice was still interested in moving forward with this. So they hired Welch Comer, who did this project, to put together their site plan, and this is what they came up with. So here is that relocated slip lane. This is the old slip lane right here that they'd be taking out. And so what they would be doing is putting in their path along their frontage up to this crossing point. Normally, they would have to go all the way to their property line, but once they develop it, they'll be taking it all the way through because they actually own both of these parcels here. So we worked with them on how to best accomplish this agreement, and we've added some snow storage areas for the Parks Department when they're plowing out there so that they don't have problems with snow storage and turning their tractor. They agreed to extending the water line through their property and building this path here. And so they would actually build this new slip lane, and this puts this slip lane far enough away from this right-in, right-out access that they want to achieve here. Originally, that wouldn't have worked because you would have been coming into Northwest Boulevard right as people are trying to exit. This provides lots of separation between the two of them. So what they would like to do is, once they have this agreement in hand, is to begin the process of developing this property and then vacating some of this right-of-way here, because the right-of-way line here now is way back here, which makes all of this area unusable. So they would like to vacate a portion of that to help their site plan, but at the same time, they're doing us a favor by improving the safety of this intersection. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Let me ask you just one. So in that slip lane,
Yes.
the way it was, could stack up quite a few cars. Or how much stacking are you losing there in that?
We're
right lane
probably
only?
losing about 6 cars, I would guess, stacking. I mean, it was pretty long before, and it didn't have a capacity problem before, but sometimes we have to go with safety over capacity as well.
Thank you. Dan?
Chris, can you bring up the other slide, because I like to see pictures.
This
Thank
one?
you. Yes, thank you. So the new slip lane up there off to the left, is that going to be signalized?
No, that will not be. Well, it will be a yield.
Okay, all right,
Yep, same configuration now, only a better angle of approach.
thank you. And then the in and out for the property owners off to, to the middle there,
Yes,
that's going to be maintained by them?
correct, yes.
Okay, so that's their stuff.
Yep, and they do have an existing approach right in this area now for access to it, so it's not like we're granting them a new access.
Yeah, I'm good with that. And then if we vacate the property, like you pointed out earlier there, do they have to, when we vacate it, and that's going to be another process, it goes to them, basically, they become the owners of it at that point?
Correct, and they start paying taxes on that parcel.
But that'll be a later meeting when we do that?
Yes.
There has to be a hearing and all that?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
exactly.
Very good.
Chris, so if this is constructed this way and you are heading towards the Croc Center on Northwest Boulevard, how would you access this property?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't from this side, but they do own both of these parcels here. So in the future, I believe that the previous site plans that I've seen of their concepts, they would have an approach down here further on Celtice Way, and the parking lots between these two would be connected, just like the motels are just west of there.
So we're not creating a situation where a person's going to turn left onto Celtice and then try to flip a U-turn to get into this?
No, they'll have an approach off of Celtice.
So there'll be an extended left turn lane on Celtice to get into this like there is on the,
Correct, yes.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then the other thing is, maybe I missed it, but this also is requesting a 12-inch water connection, main, so where is that connecting to and from?
There is a connection, the pipe right here, I think they're connecting right there, and they're bringing it over. This display only shows it go to here, but in working with it was actually Exhibit B in your packet. There is another exhibit that shows that water line extending to the end of their property because, and actually, I believe connecting with the other water line because they didn't
So
want
is
to
that
leave a
part-
buried pipe.
Is that part of the reason for the vacation, so that they, or not? Or is
No,
that
it's
separate?
just to make their site more usable. They were really
What do I
cramped trying, when we came forward with our sidewalk project, it was really pinching how much they could do with, because we were actually going to, and this display shows it right here. This old slip lane, or the one that is in use now, was going to become the path.
No.
So that didn't leave them a whole lot of room here. So they see the advantage of moving it all, so that's why in theirs, they moved the path up closer to the roadway here to make all of this area open.
Okay, and that's not affecting anything, the connections as far as the city and city water's concerned?
No.
Okay.
And my guess is this is an old railroad line that they converted into a road at some point in time.
Seems they all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, my only concern was the traffic taking a left turn, trying to, how they would get in
Right,
there.
right.
And if their only option in is to stop at the stoplight, make the left, go up Celtice, and then use a left turn in there, and that's the plan, that's what's happening on Celtice now with the hotel and the.
Correct, they all have a left turn lane to access those,
And
yes.
there's room for that in that space.
There's one there currently today.
Okay, okay, all right. That's all I had.
I'll just follow up. So no left turn access off of Northwest Boulevard.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
that's designed as a right in, right out.
Thank
Yes.
Anything else, you guys? Look for a motion, please.
So I'll make the motion to approve the agreement with Glacier Northwest Boulevard Celtice LLC for future right-of-way, vacation, and construction of a 12-inch water main, right turn slip lane, and shared use path.
Second,
Moved in second. Any other discussion, questions? Good job, Chris. This was
Thank you.
pretty interesting. Creative. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Consent calendar, please. Thanks, Chris. Good
Thank you.
job. All right, Bill, now you jump in it.
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right.
So I've got a fun one here for you. The Riverstone Park Amphitheater. When we built that in 06, 07, John Mueller had always envisioned a shade structure here. And for, about this last 7 or 8 years, the Arts and Cultural Alliance, along with Ally Shute, have been utilizing this for their Thursday concerts. Ally has spearheaded the fundraising campaign to get this installed. And so she was able to get ICCU to donate some money for some naming rights. We have that policy in place. It would be run through the Parks Foundation. The monies are going to the Parks Foundation. And there was also an anonymous donor that those monies will go to the Parks Foundation, and the bills will be paid through the foundation as they come through. The performers, I'm told, call this the frying pan because it's so hot. And our portion of this is helping out with some of the excavation and the ongoing maintenance M&O of this thing. We don't have any outlay of capital, just our oversight. Back here, that pole, and possibly this pole, and there's a pole back here you can't see, is close to a liner. So we're going to help with some of the excavation in that if that should have to be breached, we have to bring in the company that did the pond work. It has to be vulcanized and melted and all that kind of stuff. You can breach it, but it looks like a waterbed liner is what it looks like. But anyway, if we get to that point, we've got the money necessary to do all those what-ifs and the excavation that we're not certain what we'll find until we start digging. That's all I've got for you.
That's all you got. Questions, Kiki?
I had a couple things. So, and maybe I've asked this before, but I can't recall under what conversation it was. These poles will be permanent, and I'm assuming this rendering isn't the color they're going to be. They'll probably be more aesthetically blending into the landscape?
So are you saying you're not a fan of the colors of the sails?
The poles.
Poles. They might be a little darker, but, and the poles stay in place. They're
Permanent.
They're permanent. So there's a footing. Part of the design for the company that we have this through has the engineering for that, the specs for it. So that's part of what we're paying for as well. And so there'll be big footings that are probably about that big, around about 3 feet deep, and they will stay. Our staff will remove these off-season and store them and then reinstall them in the spring.
So once they're installed, they're permanent for the entire summer?
Correct, and they're available for anybody to use.
Okay,
It's
so
not
it's not
exclusive.
just for the concert series?
Correct, no, I'm
It's-
not gonna take them up and down. Anybody, if you wanna have a wedding there, or a birthday party,
Okay.
whatever, you get to use them.
Okay. And then in the agreement with ICCU, and that I don't think really is a council thing, it's kind of going into the Parks Foundation. But
Correct.
do they, after 10 years, then what? Do they have a first right of refusal or at fair market
Correct.
value, or is it just open for bid?
They have an opportunity to re-up, and if not, it's just the sign that we're gonna put up to recognize them goes away,
Okay.
and that's it.
And that's kind of the same policy we use with naming rights
Correct.
with anyone else?
Yep. It's a
Okay.
similar policy that we did for the Vista Pavilion at the Rotary Harbor House, very similar.
Okay. All right. Thank
Dan?
you.
Well, I'm not a fan of the naming thing, but I know that it is policy. But this goes to council anyway, so I'll grouse about it then.
I have a real basic question, Bill. Why the Parks Foundation? Why aren't you guys just doing it?
We put this together some time back, and it's just those naming opportunities, it creates some administrative stuff, and they have the oversight for it. It allows us to give them the money, and they hold it. But the naming policy we put back together, gosh, it's been 12 years ago now, if not more. But that's the way we run it, and it seems to work pretty well. They do the 3 that we're working on, 4 that we're working on. So naming rights at Thurco Field, naming rights at the Vista Pavilion we kept ourselves, the naming rights of the ship SS Qantas in this splash pad out here, and then the Harbor House. And so we just thought this was a good one to run through them.
Okay. They do charge for the administration fees.
A little bit,
right?
there's a
Okay.
percentage of that, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I'll look for a motion, please.
I'd make a motion to approve a naming rights agreement with Idaho Central Credit Union for the Riverstone Park Amphitheater for a period of 10 years and have it placed on the council agenda.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any other comments, discussion, hearing none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thanks. Next up, Bill.
Well, this one is just a cleaning up of our policies for our quorum. We have found over the years, our student representative is part of the quorum. Student representative is absent more often than not. So we lose them come June. They don't get reappointed till October. Holiday seasons come, whatever, and so they're not there enough. So we'd like them to still be part of the body, but just not a voting member, but not part of the quorum. They can vote, so they can still have the experience, understand how things work, but it does mess up our quorum quite a bit when they're not there, which is frequently. So the other piece of this was the commission wanted to clean up the absence on their own body or their own board. There's a piece in there about 3 consecutive misses might mean 3 strikes and we might ask you to leave. That's up to the commission chair.
I have a couple questions. So you're going to keep the kid on, and they still get to vote, but they don't count if they can't make it?
Correct.
As a
Yeah, so,
quorum.
yeah, and I
Okay.
know it seems kind of clunky, but we really wanted them to still be part of the process. We just didn't want them to be part of the quorum.
Okay. And then the other question was, the number, you're reducing the number?
Well, because of the student no longer being part of the quorum.
So that just, you're not
Yeah.
putting more members on or taking any
Correct.
more off? Okay.
Correct.
I noticed on a couple of those boards I was on, is that COVID changed everything because we weren't having meetings all the time, and it got real shaky,
Well,
trying to
this
get
is,
a
yeah,
quorum.
it's, COVID not really so much related to on this one, because the commission, we'd been talking about this for some years now, pre-COVID, just because, again, the student being absent quite a lot.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Any other questions, guys? Kiki?
Nope.
No? Dan?
Just a curiosity, why did we remove the School District 271 language for the representative, but not for the student?
We did it with a representative because we wanted a broader spectrum of people, because we could get some good folks out of there that might be retired. They don't necessarily have to be currently employed through the school district. That was the wording
Oh.
for that.
Okay. All right,
Okay?
that makes sense.
Okay.
Was there another one that I had? No, that was it. Thank you.
That was a good one. Missed that. Any other questions? If not, looking for a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion to adopt amendments to Municipal Code Section 405-070 and 405-090 regarding the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any other questions,
I
comments?
just want to make a comment that it's really cool that we have something in our code for the Parks and Rec Commission, but this committee has nothing in our code.
That's just because we love doing what we do, right?
Just pointing out the inconsistencies.
Thanks.
All right, hearing all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to agenda, please. All right, moving on. Kelly.
Hi.
Hey,
How are
Kelly,
you?
welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm here to bring forward the NIC temporary banner that's hung across Rosenberry Road from May 14th to August 20th. And it's similar to the last time I came before you, last May. It's the same request basically, except for the trees have changed because they are gone. So they're a little bit more south along that river, along the river there. And let's see, so Victoria's the marketing and events coordinator for the NIC and is requesting this one-time vinyl banner, 15 feet, which is 15 feet tall and 90 inches wide, or 90 inches wide. It will be hung between two trees using the same support bungee type straps that will protect the tree from any damage, which is in your staff report, that, what they look like. Providing a banner will help get the students, welcome them into the campus. And Streets and Engineering provided comments and concerns that are listed in your staff report. The applicant is aware of the concerns and will comply. So there is no financial impact to the city associated with this request. And the city council should authorize a letter of agreement with NIC that would allow a temporary banner to be hung across the Rosenberry Drive right-of-way attached to two city trees, welcoming students into the NIC campus from May 14th to August 20th. Any questions you might have?
Any questions? Kiki?
What does this banner say again?
It says, I left that out because I was trying to be
Welcome
short.
to NIC.
Yeah, welcome to
Oh, wait, now
NIC.
enrolling, welcome to NIC.
Yeah.
your
Education
head.
creates opportunity.
Oh, okay, so it's specific to the entire campus? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, it's on the map. Okay, thanks.
Dan?
No, it's not, yeah. Right, yeah,
Question?
Cool, fine, great,
Okay.
wonderful.
Looking for a motion, please.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve temporary banners across Rosenberry Drive right away for North Idaho College NIC.
Second.
Thank
Been
you.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent, please. This is actually coming to an end. My goodness. Well, welcome all the way from the street department. It's Todd.
Yeah,
It's going to make some money.
yeah, trying to. Good afternoon, council. We are looking to surplus some vehicles that have reached the end of their life and possibly just are not getting used and cause us some extra expense. So we're requesting from council to surplus some equipment and vehicles. First one is a 1997 Chevy pickup. It's got 171,000 miles. Engine's really tired on it, starting to knock, and it's not really worth us to do much else with that one. It was temporarily, it's been used when it was new as a supervisor's vehicle, then it was downgraded, it's been used as a crew truck, a flagging truck, and now it's time for it to move on. This is one of our older dump trucks, Streets and Engineering 228. It's a 1995 GMC. As you can see, it's been well used. Currently is missing a seat, and we've had to use it for a few parts on some of our other trucks. So it's really become a safety thing for us to keep this one on the road. This one is a van that just doesn't get used much. It's a 98. We've tried it for a couple of applications. It sits in the back lot, gets flat tires throughout the year, hasn't had battery in it for a while. I don't think it's left our campus for 2 years is what I was told. So it's just underutilized. I'd like to surplus it. It's a savings for us, less vehicles to insure, use the dollars, put them into one of the other recreation vans or something like that. This truck is unfortunate. To date, it was one of our newer trucks. Bought it about 13 years ago. It was a first generation of its emission system on it, and it has just got to be where it's very expensive for us to maintain it. We used to run it, every 1,000 hours, 1,200 hours, it would need to go over to Freightliner and get a very expensive fix because of how expensive, it's costing us about $8,000 a season right now to keep this truck running. It also, because it costs so much, it should be one of our go-to trucks, and now it sits. We're using it, maybe 500 hours instead. So used to be one of our most important trucks for running our asphalt program, but it just, when it idles, it sits and idles, it plugs up, and then we have to send it to Spokane and get new filters, and they have to hook it up to their computer system. So it's become a huge expense to keep this truck running. This is the other van that we're asking to surplus. This van sits, it leaks water. It has sat for several years. It's full of mold. It's not safe to put people in. So we recommend that we take this one to auction as well. This Volvo road grader was purchased about 2 years ago. Our lease ran out on our John Deere. We had to get rid of that. It was our go-to road grader. This one was purchased. It really wasn't the right purchase. It's undersized. We rent machines to plow snow in the winter, and this machine is underpowered. It can't keep up with them. Everyone's aware of how we plow in teams, so if you put this one with other road graders, it just is not going to get the job done. Our hopes are with 220 and this road grader to turn around and buy a used dump truck to replace 220 with the money that we would get from those trucks or these vehicles. We're asking that council approve surplusing these vehicles via auction. I would take any questions.
Questions, Kiki?
Think you just answered my question in that the dump truck that you're trying to surplus, along with the grader, is what you're going to replace the need for the asphalt dump truck with?
Yes, that's what we're hoping to do from the sale of that. We won't get rid of 220, the dump truck, until we buy the next truck, because we need to use that truck to some extent. So, but yes, the dollars from both those pieces of equipment would go into a newer truck.
So there's no downtime with that. Then my other question is, and I'm just assuming this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. When you surplus these, you surplus them to an auction outfit, and so is there paperwork that releases the city of any liability on an as-is vehicle, let's say the mold in the van, are we released of any liability once that goes to the auction?
I think I would have to ask.
Is it a big fat yes, or? Okay.
That was easy.
Okay. Well, good. I just wanted to make sure. I assumed that, but then assuming isn't healthy sometimes, so that's all I had.
Dan?
Well, it's just very obvious that Todd does not sell used cars.
Well, I'm just being honest with you here, but yes.
Why?
No,
So the only question I had, Todd, and I realized that none of these trucks were yours before this
That is
position.
correct.
So we're letting you off easy. I was wondering about the rust on the beds. Is that just common, or is that this normal, just in your mind?
well, that's the downside to what it takes to keep our roads ice-free, is the salt and the spray and all that. We have started as of, I believe, 2 years ago, the last 2 seasons, we have put money into some of our dump trucks, and we actually have them treated for the rust, and they get the beds painted. So we did that last year to truck number 222. It turned out really nice. I mean, looks like a new truck, and so we're trying to stay up on that. That's the plan that I have going forward, is to, watch our fleet so they look like they're being taken care of.
Right. All right. There's no other questions. I'll look for a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the declaration of used equipment and surplus, as surplus, and authorize the auction of said items.
Second.
We move in second. No questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consent, please. And that wraps it. Not bad, 51 minutes, you guys. You did a good job, and
Yeah,
we'll see you next time.
you got it.
Thank you.
I think that other committee would have taken an hour and a half.
It's a nice day.